What up, guys? Welcome back to the garage, man. We are starting the day off early. I just dropped Braven off at school, and on today's agenda, I have Junior's stock rear window and his stock rear wing. We're going to be using those as templates. Haven't seen this car in a while, huh? Anyhow, as you guys remember, we were doing some pretty extensive weight reduction on this hatch. I got the rear quarters all cut, got the doors all cut, the dash, interior. This was a full interior car at one point. Then we also did full Lexan windows, well, basically the quarter panel windows. He plans on leaving the glass windshield, I'm pretty sure, but one thing we never finished was the rear window, and that is the main thing that we're going to be doing in today's video. If this goes smoothly enough, then we will be making a drag wing for the car as well, and which we'll need this as a template in order to make the new wing. Also, the new drag wing would be attaching to this, would basically be riveting it to the stock one, but I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. If that doesn't end up being in today's video, that'll be a future video. So let's get started on this window and see how far we can get, man. First thing I gotta do is make a template, and I'm gonna be using transfer tape like I always do. I like using transfer tape. I've explained this before because it's basically like a big sticker, bro. You just roll this on there, then you can make your outline, and then you could peel it off and actually apply it to the material that you're gonna be cutting, which is our Lexan standing up over there in the corner. But of course, if you guys don't have access to transfer paper, you can just use regular butcher paper. The problem is it's gonna move around on you, so you're gonna wanna make sure to get it taped down well enough. It's not gonna move while you're making your outline. My transfer tape ended up being just a little bit short, bro, but instead of using a whole nother piece of transfer tape and doubling up on this, I just used a piece of this 2-inch green tape and went over that little bit that I was short. So now what I'm gonna do is, I like using the edge of a pencil, man, just going around making my mark that way. I don't know how well it's gonna show up on this green tape, but I do know it shows up really well on the transfer tape. So I'll go around and just rub the edge like that with the pencil, and it's transferring the yellow from the pencil directly right on the edge, bro. And that's what we need, because you can use a Sharpie, but sometimes when you use the felt tip of a Sharpie, it can like not be as precise. Like it could be a little bit over, a little bit under. It's hard to really get it precise with a Sharpie, but it is doable. I mean, that could be up to your own discretion, however it is you want to mark this, but just know that we want our Lexan window to be the exact same size as this window. So you want to mark it as good as you can, bro. Your final product is going to really rely on this quite a bit. So I got the front side of the window all traced out. So before we peel this off, I went ahead and I flipped it over and I marked all of these holes. Now, some of these holes we're going to use. I know some of them we're not going to, but I marked all of them just in case. I do believe that this one was for the windshield wiper. These ones are for the rear shocks, in which we're not going to be using anymore. And this is for the hinge. We are going to be using the hinge. Well, with Junior's window, we are actually going to be setting this up to where it will open like the factory window does. It is a lot more work. It's definitely more difficult to do it that way, but we're going to get it done, man, and I'm going to show you how. So there it is. That's our template stuck down onto our material, man, and that is our cut line. So what we're gonna do is just cut it out with a jigsaw. That's just a regular bimetal blade. Try to follow this line as straight as possible. Take your time, because like this is the final product, bro. Like if you dip down a lot, like you're basically screwed. You gotta start all over. So you want to take your time, cut it slow, try to follow that line as precise as you can. And which, by the way, this is the reason why I said I like using transfer tape, because it's basically like a big ass sticker, bro. You just stick it down, get it as flat as you can, and you don't have to worry about it. If we're using just regular paper, you guys already know the paper is going to move around. You got to try to tape it on there. If you're doing this for yourself as well, good luck, brother. I'm going to get to cutting this thing out. So the cut on this came out really clean, dude. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually impressed with myself. So really, it don't even look like I need to sand it, but there is a couple little spots where it kind of dips in a little bit, but for the most part it came out really clean. But I am gonna go around it with my DA sander. You guys know I do this every time I make a cut with a jigsaw, whether it's Lexan or aluminum. This is 220 grit sandpaper. I'm just gonna basically go around, use this to straighten out my cut and just clean it all up. And when you're sanding, you also give it a little bit of a bevel. So not only am I sanding flat on the surface that we cut, but I'm also sanding a little bit like this on the edge on both sides, so that it gives it kind of a little bit of a bevel and a much cleaner feel whenever you run your finger across it. Alright, so we got the window cut and we got it all cleaned up. So now what we need to do is figure out a way to paint that black trim going around the inside of the window. This is a really important step because this is what's going to make your Lexan glass actually look like it was professionally made for the most part. If you were to just put the clear glass up there instead of having this black trim, then you would see like the jam on the back side, and it looks trashy, dude. Like, you have to have this black trim going around. It's really important. So I'm trying to figure out something that I could basically use to drag along the edge of the glass. And I came up with this. This is an old bungee cord. So if you look, because I'm going to be making that black line, it's going to go all the way out to here on that Lexan. If you look where the edge of this bungee cord lands, it's basically right there. So I think I'm going to be able to try to kind of make something out of this really quick. So there's my little contraption, dude. I used the hook off of that bungee cord, and then I have an X-Acto blade just electrical taped on there. So yeah, basically I'm hoping that this is going to allow me to hook that around the Lexan and then just drag the blade around the edge and be left with a nice straight, even thickness of our line all the way around. I hope it works out, dude, because if I screw this up, then you're going to be able to tell for sure. So this is going to be something that's going to be on you guys, of course, to, use your own creativity, figure out a way that you can just get that line to be even and straight, because I'm not gonna lie, it's something I always have a pain in the ass doing, and I have to basically reinvent the wheel every time I do it. So that actually came out pretty good, man. Now, if you don't understand what it is that's going on here, the Lexan has a plastic protective layer on it. So when you buy this sheet of Lexan, it's got that plastic on it to protect it from getting scratched, and that's actually on both sides. So what we're doing here is getting a nice even cut going around, and we're cutting through that protective plastic so that we could peel that away, and we're leaving that center section because that is what's basically going to be
that's our mask, bro. That is where we don't want paint. We only want paint on this outside edge. So what's good now is the only thing exposed is the area that we want to paint. You definitely want to leave this protective plastic on the whole entire thing until you're finished, because if we were to paint this side right now and the front side was actually already peeled, plastic or Lexan has a lot of static electricity, bro. So if you were to paint this side, the static from the plastic on the other side would be drawing the overspray over. So if you were to actually paint this, you would realize that the underside of this, even though it's way under here, would be just completely covered with overspray. So you definitely want to leave that protective plastic on there all the way up until we're done, bro, because it also protects it from scratching it while you're working on it. You know what I mean? All right, so I messed up, man, but luckily I caught it before it was too late. This piece of trim that we cut off, luckily I was able to get it lined back up and I taped it on there, but it had our holes in it for the hinge, bro. So I went ahead and I drilled my center of each one, and we'll go ahead and drill that out larger later. But luckily I caught it before we painted. So I'm gonna be using a unibit to get the holes the size of these factory holes, and what I did is I marked the step just above the one that we need to drill to so I don't oversize them. I went around this edge that we're getting ready to paint with 320 grit sandpaper just to scuff it up a little bit so that the paint has something to bite to. When you're sanding this, be very careful with this edge where we have that protective plastic still on there, because if this stuff starts to lift up, then we could have problems with the paint getting underneath. So I try to be really careful when I'm sanding. You definitely don't want to sand in this direction because you can lift that protective plastic up, and we really need that to be there so that it protects the rest of the window from getting paint overspray on it. So now if you look though, do you see how all this is sanded really well except for really close to that edge? And that's because it has a lip. So sanding it like this isn't letting it actually sand that little portion that's really close to it. So now what I'm going to do is go around and just gently sand right up to that edge so that our whole entire piece is sanded, because I don't want to end up having the problem where if we don't sand that area, whenever we go to peel this up, it could potentially lift little pieces of paint around here and just give us a really ugly ass looking edge. Want it to be as clean as possible, right? But after we're done sanding, I'm gonna get all the dust off of it with my compressor. I might need to use a wet rag because, like I said, this is plastic, it's Lexan, so it has a lot of static electricity, so it's really hard to get all the dust off of it. So you might have to use a damp rag to kind of wipe it and then blow it again with your compressor. I got the first coat of paint on here, and that's basically what you're looking for, dude. You don't want to completely cover it with the first coat. You just want to get kind of a speckle on there so that you can let that kind of set up, and then we'll go back and we'll hit it again a second time, a third time, however many times it takes until this is just completely blacked out and you can't see through it anymore. I will say this is second surface. We are actually painting the inside of the window, and since being the window is clear, what you're going to be seeing is the paint on the back side, you know what I mean? So it really doesn't matter how smooth or how clean it is, you get it. You just want to make sure it's sanded well so that the paint isn't going to flake off. But so what I'm saying is the side that we're painting is actually on the inside of the car. The side that you're going to actually see is going to be on the outside, which is this, which is just bare plastic. It's not the actual paint. You're gonna be seeing the back, you're gonna be seeing this paint through the plastic. I don't know, I guess I don't really know how to explain that. I hope you guys understand what it is I'm saying. It's second surface basically. So anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and continue coating this thing until it's finished, and then we can move on to the next step, bro. While the paint on that is drying, I want to start working on how it is we're going to actually be able to shut this window. Mounting it's not going to be a problem because, like you've seen, we drilled those 3 holes, and then we're going to be able to attach the Lexan glass to the same attachment points on the hinges that the OEM glass attached to. So at the top of this window, the stock wing will actually kind of hold it in shape, but down on the bottom there's going to be nothing holding this. The Lexan is flat. It doesn't have this curve to it that the factory glass does, so we are going to have something holding it on these 2 points to actually shut it, and that's where these things come in. I am going to be mounting these on the car, but in the center where the latch was at, my original plan was to use the factory latch, which would work out perfectly, but honestly, it's big, bulky, it's ugly. I don't think Junior's cable works. Like, I don't think the latch works properly. So just to avoid the headache of dealing with that, I have 2 sets of these sitting up on the shelf that I bought for my car. What I think I'm going to do is end up using 3 of them. I'll use 1 on each corner, and then use 1 as centered as I can get it. And I say as centered as I can get it because this factory latch, I'm going to go ahead and take these 10s out, and I'm going to remove that. There's no reason for it to be there if we're not going to use it. But what I'm going to do is make a bracket that'll bolt up to where these 2 10s are at. But if you see where these 2 10s are at, that is not the center of the actual tailgate here. So this center one is going to end up being a little bit offset, but it's not a big deal. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing removed, and then I'm going to try to fabricate some kind of bracket out of this piece of aluminum to where we can bolt it right there, and then I'm going to have to bend it up so we actually have somewhere that we can attach this piece to. So this will actually be attached to the window itself, and then we'll make a bracket that we can put the pin and actually bolt the pin up to where it'll be sitting something like that. Alright, so there it is, dude. That is the bracket to mount our one damn pin. Sometimes little things just take so freaking long and so much work to fabricate. But anyhow, this is going to line up with those 2 10s right there. And then on the back side, I have it to where I could drill a hole and put one number 8 screw back there just to help keep it a little bit more sturdy. And then of course right here where I have it drilled so we can put the pin through, the aluminum is actually doubled up right there so that it's a little bit more sturdy. So
I think it's gonna work out, but I'm gonna go check on the window now, see if it's dry, and if it is, we're gonna start installing this damn thing. All right, so the window is dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling this hardware back on there. Now, whenever you guys are taking your window apart, make sure you pay close attention to how it is that this stuff goes, because Junior already had the window off, so I'm just kind of left to guess. But luckily, there's impressions in like the buildup, like the dust, you know, on these, that it have made it pretty easy to make out how it is that this thing went together. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these pieces put back on there, and then we'll go ahead and attach this thing to the hinges on the car.
bam, so there it is, dude. Mounted up the same way to the hinges like the factory glass does. So now it will hinge open. It'll hinge open and shut same way the factory glass does. But if you look over here, this is what I was talking about. Since being the Lexan is flat, it doesn't actually curve to the shape of the body, you know what I'm saying? So Now with the factory wing on here, it actually holds the top closer to the body the way it needs to be. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get that little bracket bolted up that we fabricated, and get that center pin in, and get this little latch set up and done, so then I could latch this and then figure out where it is I want to put the pins at on these two corners. Okay, so the bracket that we made came out really nice, man. I got that one screw in the back. It's got the 2 10s right here holding it. It's nice and firm and sturdy, but the problem is this pin is not long enough. Like, it is literally like that freaking short from being able to work. So I honestly had a feeling that this might have ended up being a problem, but you know, you don't really know until you actually try it. But that's all right. So what I'm going to do is take this all apart, and this little extra piece that we put on here, I'm going to have to just cut that off, and then just turn this bracket completely around to where this part that sticks up that the pin attaches to will be in the front, and then we'll just have to mount the pin like kind of far back, and it'll still work. Unfortunately not in this configuration, but we're still going to be able to make it work. So just like that, it doesn't look as cool, but it's going to work now. So now what I got to do is put a drop of sriracha sauce on there. So now with that on there, we'll go ahead and shut the window. Just give it a little touch, and then open it back up. And that is right where I need to drill my hole.
If you guys didn't notice, new t-shirt designs are available right now.
And the sedan giveaway is most certainly live. I know it just looks like an old dusty car sitting on the side of my house right now, but trust me, here very soon, probably next week or the week after, we're going to be getting to work on this car, cleaning it up even more than what we've already done. There's a lot of stuff I want to do to go through this thing, get it running really good, and get it looking proper before it goes to the person who's going to be its new owner.
And all you have to do is get on the customer list, man. I'm going to be choosing one person off of the customer list who's going to be receiving the sedan. You should most certainly be excited, because that really is a dope ass car, man. For being such an old car, it's in really great condition, and we're going to do a lot just to clean it up and make it a reliable daily driver for whoever it is that actually does get it. So check out the new designs if you haven't already. They're in a link in the description down below. Throw it in the comments what you think, man.
Now back onto this window. We finally got it finished, and dude, this came out super freaking clean. This is what I was trying to get Curly to do, but he was like, nah, screw it, let's just screw it on, get it done. But check this out. Pop that, pop that one, and then pop the center one, and then it lifts open just like a freaking factory one, dude. That is so sick and satisfying to actually see that, man. Like, then shut it down and clip, clip, clip. Easy as that.
Now it's time for the real satisfying moment. For today's video, man. So as far as Lexan, you're gonna have to do research in your area to find where to buy it. A large sheet like what it is I bought, I got that from a signed supply shop. It's what I used to do for a living, bro. It's the reason why I know where to get that stuff. But maybe look up signed supply shops in your area, and you might be able to find a large piece of Lexan like that at a decent price. Let's face it, a lot of us can't afford this kind of stuff for our cars, so we need to just build it ourselves, man. So you can most certainly save a lot of money doing a lot of things like that by yourself. DIY is the way to be whenever you're on a budget, bro. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope a lot of you guys learned something and you're able to apply this to your own vehicles, and hopefully it'll save you guys some money, man. You can take some of that money you saved and grab yourself some merch down in the description below. And don't forget to get on the customer list for a chance to win that sedan, dude. So peace out and see you on the next one. We're gonna be doing door windows and an aluminum drag wing on this car, so stay tuned.